Anyway, back to the scrutiny at Red Bull. Do you think you guys are looking vulnerable?
Well, we've always been vulnerable, to be honest. And I don't know if it's you who say this. Even last year when we suffered, when we didn't have good races, at the end of the day, we still looked superior.
And why is that?
Because we didn't have competition.
Yeah.
So this year, the same bad races that we had last year, we wouldn't be that comfortable still leading the field.
What are these bad races? Where are you having these bad races? Where specifically are you having these bad races?
Mushiri gave us like a highlight. Tracks which have slow corners, and also which the tracks which are bumpy. Last year, case in point, Singapore. Singapore today is still haunting me.
So what I was trying to say, a track that is used by the public. Like if you see Miami, it being a track, Miami is not used by the public, isn't it? The whole track. As in you don't drive on it to go and buy something.
Okay, we get what you mean.
Like in Singapore. In Singapore, you can drive on the track while taking your kids to school.
Okay.
But you can't.
So you're talking about the tracks which are actually street circuits that are used by the populace.
Yes.
And the public.
Most of them tend to be bumpy and everything. Now, like Monaco, you see, those we are going to suffer. I know it. The others,
Monaco, we already suffered.
Yeah, and like what you said about last year, like if you compare last year, Kohli, Alonso and Max, they were neck and neck. Like that was a bad race for Red Bull last year's standard. Now it's I believe it's the same thing as this year. It's only that the rest have caught up.
Yeah.
So on the caught up front, I've always said something. I want to know if you guys are going to agree with it, or you're still going to take your individual stances on it. I've always said, in this current ground effect era, because this is ground effect era 2.0. We had the first one in the 90s, yeah? The late 80s, early 90s. And in this ground effect era, I talked about, let me use this cup, for example, yeah? So the maximum you can get out of this cup is at the top here, yeah? That's the maximum you can get in. Maximum use of this, or whatever. Okay, this is the cup, yeah? So whatever drink you have inside, think of them as updates or progression or whatever. Okay. Now, you can't go beyond the brim.
Okay.
Yeah? You get the picture? So I think Red Bull were quick to get to the top compared to any other team. And it has gotten to a point whereby you can't go beyond where you are. Now, the other teams are now catching up to the top. And that's the analogy I use, and that's what I think the situation is. And I think I said this last year somewhere there, and I said it will get a point where Red Bull can't develop that car further, and the other teams are now catching up, and that's when we'll have a real fight on our hands.
Yeah, it has happened even in previous years. Like when the regulations are about to change, that's when we have very good competition.
Yeah. And in this case, regulations are changing.
So you have this year and next year.
Okay,
so next year it will be hot, even hotter than it is right now.
Hey!
I beg to differ a little bit.
On my theory?
No, your theory makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? But then again, you have to look at things differently. If the cup has to be that shape, is there still room to add volume or the amount of liquid that cup can hold? Wait.
So you can,
unless you
it's just an example.
Unless you do some illegal stuff.
Yes, not illegal, but okay. If the cup has to be, if it has to occupy this volume, I can decide to increase the bore size. I remove.
So that is illegality.
That is illegality.
No, it's not. As in the volume. By volume, I mean the space that this cup is occupying. Yeah? I can decide to, I don't know, the bottom drill something gap. But anyway, my point is, last year Red Bull reached a point where they were experiencing the law of diminishing returns, where even if you put in more effort, you won't break that ceiling. And I think that's why the RB20 is significantly different aerodynamically, as in even, aerodynamically to the RB19. The mechanical platform, yes, might be the same, but when you look at the aerodynamics and how the car has been sculpted, look at the side pods, for example, the inlet, look at the nose, look at the shoulders, or how people call it, the cannons. It's a little bit different. Yeah, I think Red Bull had to chase like a different branch to try and gain some significant advantage again, or to give them that leeway to develop again ahead. Look at what Ferrari just did with the update. They introduced a change from the front to the back. I think also Ferrari reached that point where they're like, you know what, if we continue putting in effort into this concept of a car, we won't gain as much as changing the entire aerodynamic platform.
But don't you think there are significant differences between the Red Bull and the Ferrari? Because the Ferrari, we know this is the first iteration of Fred Vassar's vision of a car, with the fans and everything. Because
but there are still some similarities.
last year, that was still Mattia Binotto's car.
Yes, but I'm saying this year.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the update that Ferrari introduced, one for example, see now their side pods, it has an overbite. Similar, you can say it's kind of similar to.
I mean, I see what you're saying here, and
so it's I don't think Red Bull has hit again with this concept that they introduced this year. I don't think they've hit that ceiling. I think maybe they just created a small gap where they can actually gain more extra performance compared to if they continued with last year's concept. Yeah. But overall, I think all of them they're also getting closer to what the laws of physics can allow you to get. Because remember, again, you're also limited by the tires. You can have I don't know, a paper thin car, but at the end of the day, you're still limited by the tires that you're given by Pirelli at the end of the day.
So, me, what I'm going to say, you think the closing up is happening, but you see, Red Bull being weak in Monaco and Singapore should tell you that they are very strong in some. Like, if you go to Austria, or if you go to Silverstone, I know McLaren will give a run for money.
You talked about Spa.
And Spa, like those circuits, I'm very sure Red Bull will be. You'll see that now the difference.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping they solve, because I think the RB20, I think it has potential in it, but I think they've gotten to a point where, remember, like last year, even 2022, there were a couple of races where they were really struggling to put the car in a certain window where they can get performance straight out of the box. So them spending like 7 races now with this RB20, I think they're still learning like how can we extract performance from this car. And I honestly believe I can put my money on this. When you're getting to the tail end of leave even tail end, by the mid, like 4 races in, that gap is going to go back to what it was.
I also believe the same.
I'm really looking forward to it because there's something else I want to put in before we get in. I bring you guys back to the municipality. So we talked about the bogey tracks, Monaco, the next one again, Canada, and Singapore. Yeah. Now, there was also something I read somewhere. It was a thread on X, formerly Twitter. And some guy said, we already know New is leaving, and we don't know where his destination is yet, but we already know he's leaving. Now, somebody said every time Newey has completely been uninvolved with the Red Bull car in a weekend, you guys have actually not won that race. And I was like, really? I don't know the truth in that, but I just wanted to, speak it and hear your takes on it, because again, you guys are both Red Bull fans here.
Well, for starters, we need to ask ourselves, on a race weekend, what is Newey's role?
I don't think it really has a role. I think they can do without him.
Superstitious.
Again, I'm saying I read it.
You just see on the pit wall, you see him walking around with his notebook and
telling other cars, I can fix her.
I don't know about that. Yeah. But he's not really actively involved in a race weekend.
Yeah.
And he's even come out and he even said it. Like, it's not like I'm a mechanic or I say changes this, change. Because remember, again, the package for that particular race, that has already been discussed and it has already, as in that case is closed.
I agree.
Yeah. People were saying that he's still not involved. Come on, guys. Amkumwona Monaco. He was behind a McLaren, looking at the rear wing and I don't know at the floor behind.
At the grid work.
Yes, and even had his usual notebook and a pen
And they can fix her pose.
So
Yeah, he's still there.
So question is, who is he taking those notes to?
Hey, it was once said the most valuable item in Formula One is Adrian Newey's notebook. It has been said before. It has been said. If you steal that notebook, that's more valuable than the Mona Lisa itself.
so you replace your notebook na iPad hivi.
Not the digital.
iCloud.
He doesn't have a digital footprint. He doesn't have a digital footprint. There is a reason behind it.
So reason why he still writes on paper.
He still writes on paper.
Yeah, but
If he wants to delete data, sets it on fire. That's how you delete data.
New is still present come race day. It's not like even before he was actively involved in, I don't know, making decision strategy. No, that's not his role, man.
Okay, well, agree to disagree on that.